As we get closer to Saxavord hosting a rocket launch, I was recently asked some questions about 4 of the rockets set to launch from the UK in the next year or so. Which is the most advanced, which will be the biggest launch, and which will do more for us in space? All excellent questions, and I thought I would compare them to try and draw some conclusions. So, let's dive right in.
Alright, liftoff and the clock has started.
Welcome to UK Space News, I'm Tom June, and before we go on, if you want to stay up to date with the latest goings on from the UK space industry and beyond, then make sure you hit that subscribe and notification buttons so you never miss a video. Now, let's answer these questions. The HyImpulse SL1, the RFA ONE, the Skyrora XL, and the Orbex Prime, all set to launch from the UK, but to compare each of the rockets, we need to break them down, check out the specs, and weigh it all up to see which one will come out on top as the most exciting prospect. Although, even that might be a matter of perspective. So, given this is a UK space news channel, let's start with the home soil launchers before moving on to our German visitors. Skyrora have been working on their XL rocket for a couple of years now, and we can see from this footage shot for a BBC visit last summer that things are looking pretty good so far. They had one test flight of their Skylark L suborbital sounding rocket in October 2022, which did not go to plan. Much like HyImpulse, Skyrora are using their sounding rocket to test various components set to be used on the XL, including the main engine, avionics, and construction materials. It almost follows the SpaceX model of build, test, fly, rework, rinse and repeat. So, how does the XL stack up? The Skyrora XL is a 3-stage rocket, standing between 22 and 24 meters tall, with a diameter of 2.2 meters. It'll have a launch mass of over 55,000 kilograms, including payloads of up to 315 kilograms, and aims to place them into sun-synchronous orbits of between 500 and 1,000 kilometers, or polar orbits between 200 and 1,000 kilometers. The first stage will be propelled by 9 3D printed Skyforce engines, which are staged combustion, turbopump driven, delivering 70 kilonewtons of thrust each at sea level. Now, I'm not going to go to everyday astronaut levels of detail here, but stage combustion engines work by taking some of the fuel or oxygen, running it through a preburner where the fuel is partly combusted, running this through the turbopump to drive it, and then combining it back in with the main fuel mix in the combustion chamber, giving an overall increased level of thrust. Thus, the engine is lit in stages, hence the name, staged combustion. Some are fuel-rich and some are oxygen-rich, but Skyrora will be running fuel-rich engines. They are fueled by a mix of high-test peroxide and kerosene, but not just any old kerosene. Skyrora are making their own called Ecocene, which is derived from recycled plastic waste in an effort to be as green as possible from the very start. Each engine also has a specific impulse, or ISP, of 250 seconds at sea level. This stage will propel the rocket to an expected altitude of 61 kilometers and speed of 2,500 meters per second before separation. The second stage will also utilize the same methodology, but scaled down to just a single vacuum-optimized Skyforce 2 engine, producing 85 kilonewtons of thrust and an ISP of 306 seconds. This stage will carry the third stage, another 120 kilometers to an altitude of 187 kilometers, some 400 seconds after liftoff. Finally, the third stage will be propelled by a single pressure-fed low Earth orbit engine and forms part of what we call a space tug. It only has 3.5 kilonewtons of thrust, but it can deliver an impressive ISP of 305 seconds and will be used to place the space tug to orbital altitude. The tug will then detach and start to deliver payloads. But not only that, Skyrora eventually hope to use that tug to retrieve and deorbit space debris. The whole rocket is also made from composite materials, But the really cool thing is Skyrora have developed their own mobile launch facility, first seen in use during the 2022 Skylark L test up in Iceland. This thing will be an absolute beast when it flies, at around 60 tons. Orbex, unlike Skyrora and HyImpulse, are not building a smaller launcher. Nope, they are going straight for the big one. The Orbex Prime is a 2-stage rocket. It will stand around 18 meters tall with a diameter of 1.3 meters and a launch mass of around 18,000 kilograms, or just shy of 19 metric tons. It aims to place payloads of up to 150 kilograms into an SSO of up to 500 kilometers, or possibly much higher with smaller satellites. So we can already see here that it won't have the lifting capability of the Skyrora XL. Point to Skyrora. Not that this is a points game or anything, but let's count some points. The first stage will be powered by 6 liquid oxygen and bio-LPG engines, with the biofuel being in the form of waste-derived propane. These engines are also being 3D printed by Orbex. Now, details on the engines themselves are somewhat scant, but given the Prime is a small lift rocket, we can safely assume that the first stage will be generating upwards of 200 kilonewtons of thrust, putting each engine at a minimum of 33 kilonewtons, but theoretically they could be somewhere in the region of 70 kilonewtons, as that is a medium for small to medium launchers at the moment. The second stage will utilise a single vacuum optimised engine, capable of on-orbit restart. I would estimate that this stage will generate around 300 plus seconds of specific impulse, but again, there's very little detail available at the moment. Where Orbex gain a point back in this race is that the Prime is designed to be recoverable, so you would expect to see the first stage reuse down the line once the rocket is flight proven. It's going to do that through a combination of parachutes and a unique petal folding design, whereby the stage separation ring, ordinarily discarded after stage separation, is instead going to fold out and act as a drag induction system, thereby preventing the need to carry out an additional fuel burn in space to slow the spacecraft down. From speaking with the team, I know for sure that they are very environmentally conscious and want everything to be as green as possible, in line with the UK Space Agency's Green Space initiatives. And Orbex, of course, will be launching from their own spaceport, Spaceport Sutherland, up in the far north of mainland Scotland. In fact, whilst Saxavord will host the first vertical UK launches, Sutherland is due to become the first mainland vertical launch site, and building of that is well underway. So, as far as home launchers is concerned, the Skyrora XL at least answers the question of which rocket will be the biggest. But both use in-house 3D printed engines, both run on biopropellants, and, as I understand it, both of their engines will be staged combustion engines, similar to one of our next contenders, Rocket Factory Augsburg's Helix engine, powering their RFA ONE. The one from Rocket Factory Augsburg is a seriously impressive looking rocket from our German friends, with equally impressive stats. It's a 3-stage system standing 30 meters tall, with a diameter of 2 meters and a capability of carrying payloads of up to 1,300 kilograms to 500 kilometers sun-synchronous orbit. Right, from the get-go, the lifting power of this rocket far outweighs anything from the previous two. The first stage will be powered by 9 of those previously mentioned staged combustion turbopump-driven Helix engines, with each engine generating around 100 kilonewtons of thrust for an ISP of 325 seconds. Rather than biopropellants, however, RFA are ditching those in favour of the tried and true RP1 LOX combination for their first and second stages. The second stage will utilise a single vacuum optimised Helix, which should deliver a higher thrust output for an ISP of 350 seconds. The third stage, called the Redshift OTV, Orbital Transfer Vehicle, is more interesting, as RFA will use a single orbital stage engine which runs on nitromethane and nitrous oxygen to produce 1.5 kilonewtons of thrust. This engine will be capable of on-orbit reignition and will come in two variants: a dedicated payload transfer vehicle and a rideshare transfer vehicle with 3 standard port sizes, and a customizable top slot for an added bonus. RFA have also 3D printed their engines, and this is a common theme here between the 3 rocket manufacturers mentioned thus far. While RFA are using off-the-shelf parts and stainless steel for the main rocket body, all 3 companies are keeping costs down by developing and building their own engines. Not only that, but RFA are actually planning on a reusable variant of the One, which will be 10 meters longer and use up to 17 Helix engines on the first stage alone, as well as a max variant with potentially up to 20 Helix engines or solid rocket boosters. If you want to compare this rocket to anything currently in production, then look to China's Long March 6 or Arianespace's Vega. As for others in development, ABL's RS-1 is pretty close too. As of now, we've had the first hot fire test of the first stage at Saxavord spaceport, along with the second stage being tested in Sweden, ahead of a planned first launch in Q3 of 2024. Finally, we come to the HyImpulse SL1, and this is where things get really interesting, if the previous competitors weren't already. The SL1 is a 3-stage rocket, standing at 33 meters tall and 2.2 meters in diameter. It has a launch mass of 36,000 kilograms, or about 36 metric tons, and will carry payloads of up to 500 kilograms to low Earth orbit. Nothing there has been specified, but it will likely be in line with the others, so expect the 500 kilometer mark, as would be standard for small satellites. The first stage will be powered by a brand new variant of the HyPlux 75 motors used in the SR-75. These are called ThighPlux, and they're basically 2 of the HyPlux 75s bolted together and powered by a joint turbopump, with 13,200 litres of liquid oxygen delivering 270 seconds ISP. The turbopumps will be electrically driven, but where this rocket really stands apart from the rest are those HyPlux 75s. You see, the HyPlux 75s are hybrid rocket motors, and if you've been paying attention to my channel during the past year, then you should know a thing or two about that. This means that each engine is actually attached to a tank containing 5 tons of solid paraffin, forming an engine cluster. The turbopumps will then feed each engine cluster with liquid oxygen from a main LOX tank to increase the thrust output. You basically have solid rocket boosters being fed pure liquid oxygen, which allows the engine to be throttled. Crucially though, this combination also allows the engines to be turned off and back on again, as well as utilising thrust vectoring for steering and corrective manoeuvres. The second stage of the SL1 will use 4 100 kN versions of the HyPlux 75s, also turbopump fed, and carries 6,800 litres of liquid oxygen, delivering an ISP of 321 seconds. The third stage will be similar to Skyrora's Space Tug, but will use 4 smaller 25 kN hybrid engines, with a total of 730 kilograms of paraffin, 1,800 litres of liquid oxygen, and delivering 313 seconds of specific impulse. Hybrid rocket engines have been developed at various stages since the 1930s. Between 1964 and 1967, Onera, based in France, developed hypergolic hybrid-sounding rockets using nitric acid oxidizer and amine fuel. The main advantages of using hybrids over traditional liquid propellant rockets is that they are mechanically simpler, requiring less moving parts, less plumbing, and they're more stable. Hybrids also have a higher theoretical ISP than solid boosters themselves, and, like already mentioned, they can be controlled. One of the main disadvantages, however, comes with refueling. Unlike a traditional rocket, or say SpaceX's Falcon 9, to refuel a hybrid would require each of those solid fuel tanks to be removed, refurbished, and refilled. Okay, it would be far easier to simply replace these with fresh tanks, but even still, that means taking the rocket apart. So HyImpulse are probably not going for the reusable or quick turnaround option here. Still, if we're going to compare the SL engines to anything, then we can look at Virgin Galactic's VSS Unity, which uses a single hybrid motor for those edge-of-space tourism flights. So, where does this leave us? Well, in terms of home launchers, the Skyrora XL is the biggest and has more mass-to-orbit capability, along with that space tug that will be used in future for space cleanup. But the Orbex Prime is designed to be recoverable, something not said about the XL yet. So props go to Orbex for that. The RFA ONE is without a doubt though the biggest of them all, with far more mass-to-orbit capabilities and future recovery options too. That said, they lose points for their use of RP1 at launch, which goes against UK Space's green initiatives, even if I do expect that to change at a later time. Still, for my money, the HyImpulse SL1 wins the day, and this may be a controversial opinion here given it's a hybrid rocket. And okay, you might have been expecting that given it's so different from the rest in terms of its hybrid design, but make no mistake, that design is incredible. The other three are using tried and tested bi-liquid propellant fed engines, whereas HyImpulse are going for something different. And if they pull it off, then they'll have achieved an overall cheaper mass-to-orbit design that has been 90 years in the making. As I said right at the start, however, it's also subjective. I like all of these rockets in different ways, and I'm rooting for all of them to succeed. Not just for each company, but for the future of Scottish and UK spaceflight in general. But that being said, I want to know your thoughts. Which rocket's your favourite? Which one are you most looking forward to? Do you really believe that hybrid designs are the way of the future, or do we stick with traditional fuel propellants? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to drop a little like if you enjoyed this video and consider subscribing to the channel. You can also follow me on Patreon, and I want to give a massive shout out to my existing Patreon supporters. You guys are truly amazing and help me to bring you these videos, making them bigger and better every time. If you would like to support what I do here or get your hands on some British rocketry inspired merchandise, then head to tomjune.com or check out the links below. Thank you all very much for watching. I've been Tom June, and I'll see you next time.